Good morning, everybody, or I should say almost good afternoon. We're close depending on where you are. Sean is already past noon. As we have Sean Shapiro, Craig Ludwig, I'm Owen Newkirk joining us for a emergency pod. Not good news today, unfortunately. We've done some before, like the Mikko Rantanen trade, which was pretty exciting. But this one is injury related, as Tyler Seguin has been ruled out with an ACL injury, not yet officially out for the season, but based on what Glenn Gulletson said this morning, and then just typical timeline for an injury of that magnitude, it's not looking very good for Tyler Seguin and for his season for the Dallas Stars. We'll get into all of that, what it means, what it entails, what can the Stars do to try to make up for that fact. But let's just start with gut reaction. And I'll start with Sean. We've talked about this a lot, and most recently on the last show that you were on, which was last night, what it means to Tyler Seguin because of how much he has put himself through physically over his NHL career.
Yeah, it's a tough injury, right? Like we brought it up last night on the show talking about what this could or couldn't be, and because it was a knee, we didn't want to overly speculate, but we obviously all had some fear on what it could mean. And ACL is really bad news. And you just think about the person, honestly. For me, you think about this is a guy who a couple of years back thought his career might be over. He had to relearn how to walk, and it's like if you were to go through and look at a diagram of the human body now from when it comes to legs and ankles and Achilles and knees. I mean, I don't know if there's a movement body part within the legs that Tyler hasn't injured now in his NHL career. So you feel really like you feel for him, and he worked so hard to kind of get back, and he was playing really well. And that's my first reaction is this sucks, right? Like, because it sucks for the Stars, it sucks for the team, but you think a lot about the person, you think a lot about the time that's been put in and kind of the things he's gone through with these injuries and battled through. And you're supposed to get it's one of the horrible life lessons that not all stories have happy endings, right? Like this is supposed to be, if this is the movie, right? It's supposed to be, hey, he's healthy for the rest of his career and he goes off and he does this. And it's just it's a sucky thing a reminder of this is a sport where you never know when you're an inch away from this happening. So it sucks. So.
Luds, what was your initial reaction to this news? I know obviously we saw this last night. You broke it down and what we thought it was, and you were spot on. You thought it was his knee. It was. But what kind of emotion and reaction goes through your brain when you hear about this?
Well, I could echo everything that Sean said, because that's the first place that I went immediately, and it's because we know Tyler, and I don't think there's any good side here, but the upside is that Tyler, as Sean said, has been through all of this plus more. And I think that where my first reaction this morning was, it wasn't so much from the waist down, it was from the neck up. And how does he handle it mentally? And then I go back to, he's been there, done that. We saw the procedure that he had on his hip, and everybody, that was well documented what he went through. I don't think that this would be anything near that. I think Tyler's probably been to the top of the mountain when it comes to rehabs and procedures and time and all this kind of stuff. So, and that's why I believe that Tyler will probably be sitting there going, I will overcome this. I will be back. I'll be back in time for playoffs or what, and again, I don't know the severity of this whole thing. But I think that's the way that he will approach it. And, the good news is, if there's any, Tyler, you got a new baby at home. You get to spend a little more time at home. And I would think that when he's able to travel with the guys, it would be a good thing for them to bring him when he's okay to say, yeah, I want to go on this road trip, that road trip. And then from a team standpoint, it's been a philosophy for 100 years. It's next man up, and I immediately this morning when I saw this, I moved that kid on the right line, on that third line. I just moved him up into that spot, and now what a year or so ago,
when you say that kid, you're talking about Maverick Bourque?
Yep. Yeah, and I'm coming off that game last night too. I like the game that Maverick played in, little increments. We don't know what Gully's going to do, but it just seems like you just kind of slide him up in there, or maybe it's Sam Steele that goes over and plays. He seems to be the go-to guy, the Yuri Letton of the day to fix little lines. So, but again, I just think that they'll rally around this, and you can hear them already. Let's do this for Tyler. Let's get this, let's get to where we want to finish, and we'll worry about, the time frame of this down the road. So, it's going to be tough for him to deal with, and he needs a little time to probably process this. And what I was going to say, you go back a year or so ago when Tyler and when Mark went in here, and now you got 2/3 of that line, that what was the best line for a long time, out of the lineup, and these guys still move along. And I'm sure you're going to go to it. Now here comes a move. Right.
Yeah.
Working on, there's been one of them in the process for about 3 weeks now. And maybe this opens that door up, right. With cap space and everything else.
Okay. Before we get there, I'll go to Sean on this. Do you think Tyler Seguin do you have any doubts that he will return from this, whether it's this season or next?
I assume Tyler Seguin will play in the NHL again. I'll say
that's my question.
I don't think it's fair to put I don't think it's fair to try to speculate on this season. I mean, I don't think he is someone who, knowing Tyler, knowing what he's gone through, knowing what he's battled through, and Luds can talk more on this. I don't think he lets his last time in an NHL game being helped off the ice being an injury. I don't think that's not Tyler in my mind. So I don't think it's fair to talk about this season, but I think it's with what he's battled through before, what he's gone through before, knowing he does really still it's not like he doesn't take good care of himself. He's going to be able to battle back from this. He will play for the Stars. He will play in the NHL again. This season that's such a murky thing to talk about.
Luds, you agree?
Yeah, 100%. I just don't. How old is Tyler? 34? 34-ish, right?
No, he's younger. Well,
33. He's no younger than 33, I don't think. So because he's in Jamie's neighborhood, isn't he?
He's 33. He'll turn 34 at the end of January.
Yeah. So to me, there's no doubt. And I've said this about Tyler last year, and there was a point when, for me, myself personally, it was 13 years in between when you win your first Stanley Cup, and then I had the opportunity with this team here to win another one. And there's a point where you don't think you're going to, you're going to get to accomplish that. Then, we kind of saw where we were, and then it happens. And that's when, for me personally, I just stepped aside. But there was that same time frame a year ago. I think it was a year or two ago. I talked about this and I said, man, there's only one similarity in Tyler Seguin and me. And it was that time period. And I thought a couple of years ago, that team was ready there. And they weren't, but I think Tyler's going to look at that now because of where this team is right now, where he is in this community and everything else that he's done. He wants to be part of it, not just getting his name on the cup, but he wants to be part of being on the ice when they lift that trophy. And so I think that's what's going to motivate him to get back as soon as the doctors allow him to get back in the lineup, and then everything else comes together.
Okay, let's talk about what's next, because Tyler Seguin's injury, I mean, even 6 months from now, if we're talking about an ACL, and it's not that long ago, an ACL injury was 1 year, and then you don't feel right until 2 years. But now we're talking about a possibility, and we don't know what the severity of it, and we'll wait and see on that specifically. But I don't think anyone's saying less than 6 months. Well, 6 months from today, assuming he wouldn't have surgery today, I don't think. But let's just in general terms, that puts you into May or June. So you're talking about deep into a Stanley Cup playoff run, if at all. So Dallas could put Tyler Seguin on LTIR season ending, which would allow them to use the full cap relief of his $9.5 million contract. If they do the new rule, if this was last year, this is a no-brainer. He goes on LTIR, you load up on trade moves and bring players in, you can be way over the cap once the playoffs hits. It doesn't matter. Well, the new rule now changes that substantially to the average AAV of the course of the season of a player, not just whatever, unless you put them on season ending. What do you think the Star? Let's maybe not speculate about that. What do you think the Stars are going to do, and what kind of player would they target, assuming they go out and get one or more pieces now that they have this injury to Seguin, of course, the injury to Bischel, which isn't necessarily as long-term, but we'll wait and see. They have the injury to Harley, which we still don't know. And of course, Matt Duchene continues to be day-to-day. Glenn Gulletson said today that he's had some good days and had probably his best week so far, but that he still needs to stack good days one after another. And when asked if he is expected back before the Christmas break, he said, we're hopeful, but they've been hopeful for a while. So that doesn't rule out the chance that Duchene may or may not play in the next 3 weeks.
Okay, so for Matt, we've been going down this road for a while,
Yep.
right? And there's no way to put a timeline on this. It's when Matt feels fine coming back and being able to play a game and then another game and then another game. Matt Duchene does not want to come in and out like he did one game.
No.
My opinion is Matt Duchene's a centerman. He's not in the lineup. Tyler Seguin is a winger / centerman, probably centerman / winger as his career went on. So I think you're going to target a centerman. Again, I don't know what they're doing. I think they're going to try to get the best player available. And there's a couple guys out there that they would take a look at. And, this is very similar, Sean, right, to the Barkov deal, like where, they have to make it, or they don't have to make a decision, I should say. There's a time period there. And so if he comes back, the door is open. If it's not, that whole new scenario that's in there. So, which I'm obviously not very clear on. So, I think you're looking at a top 6 player for sure. It's not like you're looking at a bottom 6 because we have enough of those. So
do you have anybody in mind?
Oh yeah, of course. Calgary's door, everybody's knocking on Calgary's door. And I think, my opinion is Naz. I think Kadri's a good player. I think he's a competitive player. I think he would add some grit to this team, that FU, so to speak, the way that he plays the game. As a forward up front, and he has some skill, and he's a I call him a kid, but he's not a kid anymore. But he's a player that to me would fit into this and would add something to it. And now maybe with that cap space, and I think Sean, I think he's in that same neighborhood price wise as what he's making, in this contract that he's on.
Yeah, in a vacuum, right? Like Nazem Kadri would be a tremendous fit for the Stars. The problem with it's not even the problem, just the issue and thought process with Nazem Kadri is he is in year 4 of 7 on a $7 million deal. And that's the Nazem Kadri
Not
issue.
a rental.
He's far from a rental. He's 35. And like this year, right? If I could take Nazem Kadri and plug him right into the Dallas Stars right now, it's a perfect fit right now. I don't know. And this news has all happened in the last 40. It's the reason, like, when this stuff was all coming up, you're like, Jim has got a pretty well thought out cap structure and we know how he thinks that it does it. How does it work with paying Nazem Kadri as a 36, 37, 38-year-old Nazem Kadri $7 million each of the next couple seasons? I don't know. Like I think for right now, for winning the Stanley Cup this year, he's the guy you go and add. The one for me, Luds, that is just a thought process, because he is and we're sticking with Calgary on this one. Is
I know where you're going.
It's one of 2 guys, but it's the other one. What about the kid from Plano? He's got 1 year left on that deal after this. He's got 1 year left on that deal. Blake Coleman making $4.9 million. He's not gonna be making $7 million for the next couple years after that. He's not a center, but he's going to come in. He's going to add that grit. He's got 2 cup rings. So I know people who have 2 cup rings tend to be pretty successful in life. And he could be a really good fit. And obviously, if you're calling Calgary, we also got to talk about Rasmus Andersson. But that's if you're Jim and you think about the past history with the Flames and everything in recent years, there's definitely that call's already been made. Let's be honest, right? Jim and Calgary's camp have already spoken multiple times. We know that. We know Jim speaks to everyone all the time. So it's now becomes a question of urgency and price and what the 2 sides are willing to do. Because I want to be clear before someone goes and aggregates this on one of those Twitter accounts. I'm not pretending to say like, oh, I know Jim talked to Craig Conroy today. I just know Jim literally texts with every GM all the time. There's a GM group chat. They all speak all the time. So I'd just be very like the Stars. Jim wasn't hoping for Tyler Seguin to blow out his knee, but Jim was always ready with a plan B for whenever something was going to happen.
You have to be prepared. Of course, he's had injuries before. Luds, you mentioned the grit factor for Nazem Kadri. I can't remember where I read this. I think it was yesterday. There was a piece, and it was linking to Kadri and saying that the Stars had been going hard after Matthew Olivier from the Columbus Blue Jackets for a couple of seasons and hadn't been successful, knowing they wanted another player of that ilk. And I think Olivier may be the toughest enforcer in hockey today. And that sort of feels like, I don't think we're at this point where we think about the Stars being not tough enough, but it certainly wouldn't hurt to add a little bit more of that.
Yeah, but again, Jim Nill, understands that part of the game, right? And that for a long time there's been a philosophy, I believe, from Jim, that our tough guy is going to be our power play. Well, they have that now, and they have a damn good one. I don't know, and how much does a player like that come into play in the playoffs? Yeah, I know it's nice to have them there. There's no question.
That's a very good point.
This team is built on scoring goals, and they're getting better at defending. If they want to add him, I'd be more than happy to say yes. But if you're going to go in the pecking order of, where we're talking about, if it's Kadri, Coleman, Olivier, I'm going for A and B before that, because I think that, and I agree. I've already shot Blake a text. I had a conversation with Blake when he signed his last deal that he wanted to come here. I will say that, obviously, hometown kid and everything else. And I was really like, Blake, I'm just telling you, I said, I had the same conversation with Seth. It's hard if you play in your hometown and friends. And again, where I go with all the distraction. I said, there will come a point in your career where I get it, where you want to come home. And I believe that is the time is now. And Blake has a limited, no trade thing or teams and that stuff, which I guarantee this would be one of them that he would come to. So I don't think that would be an issue. I just look at the people how this team is built, and Blake would be a great addition here, but he's going to be in your bottom six, right? But he can play on that, that middle six, I should say. And Blake can play center. Blake can play center. He's not a natural center, but he can play that position. And where he's going to add to this team is from the defending standpoint. Like, he understands how to play from the offensive blue line back to his net.
And he can still score.
Yeah, and he's going to give you 15 goals a year. I don't think you should count him for 2025.
Here's my question to you, Luds. You said center, and I understand you go after a center if they can also play on the wing, but Dallas has, assuming Duchesne gets healthy eventually, whether it's sooner or later, I feel like he's going to play again, right? So the question, they have Hintz, Johnston, Duchesne, Steele, Foxa, Beck. They've got plenty of centers. Maverick Bourque plays center, for goodness sakes, and never gets a chance to. Wouldn't there be a push to get a top six winger, which we already said was a hole before the season even began? And now with Seguin out, that just feels like that exacerbates the situation.
See, my thing is with centers, they can play all over the ice.
Yes. Okay, fair. Yeah.
And I just think that when you go get the best player. And again, I'm not going to, if they want to go grab a winger, I'm not going to argue, but I hope it's a top six winger. Now, what top six winger out there is available? I haven't heard many names, and I'm sure there's somebody out there that they could. I'm just trying to figure out between the numbers that Tyler Seguin can put up and the numbers that Matt Duchesne can, because I'm not counting on Matt Duchesne. I guess we want him back.
That's fair.
Right now, so let's just assume. So what do you go after? Do you want to go after a bottom six guy, or do you want to kind of try to fill the void of what maybe the points, the way that they go about their business? And again, Tyler Seguin's not a top power play guy right now. He's on number 2, right? So right. I get that.
But he's the first guy up if Mikko was suspended for the game. Not that he's going to do it again. Yeah. Sean, you look like you have a thought on the matter.
I have an idea, and I want to be clear. We're talking about a GM that was willing to be creative and go bold last year. What about Steven Stamkos?
Ooh,
I already had.
Lutz brought this up like a month ago.
And where I agree, but he's making $8 million for the next 5 years, I think, at 8.5. But Stammer is not. Again, it's not fair again because he's playing on a team that maybe he doesn't fit into that whole mix. There's a reason Tampa Bay is a hell of an organization. There's a reason he's not there. And did they see in their crystal ball what they're seeing in Nashville? But I see Stamkos right now as that power play guy, because I brought that up. Man, can you imagine Rantanen passing the puck over there? But if there's one part of this game right now I don't want to mess with, it's that power play.
Yeah. Well,
Okay, Sean, I have a question for you real quick.
Wait, hear me out on this real quick, just
Okay.
on the Stamkos note. Because this is I know people always get overly protective of picks and everything like that. Nashville's horrible. Stamkos is not working there. Okay, we can all agree upon that. And this is, I'm probably offering way too much for this. And this in a world where he's making $8 million. He's in year 2 of 4. He's only there for these $8 million next year and the year after. For that type of shot, for that type of addition, with 50% retained, would you trade 2 first-round picks for Steven Stamkos? This is me coming to the table and having a with 50% retained, so he's a $4 million player.
No.
Okay.
Sean, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
What about the other guy on that team? What about Marchessault? I think Marchessault is more of a complete player and a little more speed and zigzag and kind of plays into what this team does. And again, I guess I wouldn't complain about either one of them. I think that they would be willing, because Marchessault doesn't have the same length of deal, does he? That Stamkos does?
Let me look it up real.
Well, let me ask you this question, Luds, while he's looking this up. What about, because we know Vancouver is starting to take calls because they're, Jim Rutherford threw out there, well, anybody's available.
Why would you give up Kiefer Sutherland? Why would you give him up?
Kiefer Sherwood. That's the one I'm wondering about.
Okay, why would you do that?
Is there anybody else in Vancouver that we would be interested
Brock Besser, but now he's got a big ticket, and I think he's got a new 7-year or 8-year deal. So
yeah, that doesn't make any sense financially.
I mean, you could,
unless you want to throw in Quinn Hughes, you go ahead and throw him in.
If you want, if you really want to be like, I mean, if you want to go make a trade for Quinn Hughes, if you wanted to go crazy, that's fine. Like, I mean,
but Sean, there is one problem. This is the question I was going to ask you a moment ago: is Dallas doesn't have unlimited assets. They have used their first-round picks and others to try to load up for previous playoff runs. Their prospect pool is very limited at the moment as far as guys they can either call up or trade, because they've already done that. So what do they have left in the cupboard to make all these moves that we make hypotheticals for, about whether it's a Nazem Kadri or a Jonathan Marchessault or Kiefer Sherwood or whatever they're going to do? What do they have to work with?
I mean, honestly, it's really pick capital is the big one, right? And they don't have a ton of pick capital in general, but like you look at the Stars prospect pool and it's pretty slim pickings, and it doesn't help that Emil Hemming this year has just been okay. Like, it's been one of those where he's been one of those where, like, prior to this season, you've been like, oh, he's a prospect that probably teams seek out. So even he's got a little bit of degraded value right now in my mind. The Stars prospect pool, I think when we did it over at Elite Prospects, was ranked either 31st or third. I think it was 31st in the league, only behind. Well, Tampa was the only one with a weaker prospect pool. So it's a lot of pick capital and how you're willing to do that. And I get, like, I used to be the big hold on to your prospect guy, hold on to your picks guys. And I get that you have to have some wins on that stuff. But I'm also...
You watch Vegas change that entirely, and it helped change your mind, didn't it?
No, not just Vegas, though, but also, like, I think you have to have it to,
Vegas.
You have to have it to a point, right? Dallas has gotten their hits, right? Like, you've gotten you got Wyatt Johnson where you found him. That 2017 draft changed everything with Jason Robertson,
and
Jake
the 2021 with Stankoven as well, because that helped them get Nico Rantanen.
So you have all of that, and you have everything on that, and you can always plan for the future. You can always plan for tomorrow. You can always do this and that and everything like that. At the end of the day, no one has lifted a Stanley Cup since the guy sitting 2 over to my digitally on the screen in Dallas, since Craig's been on the team. And so I get the whole, you want to move it down the line. We don't want to trade assets for the future. If this team isn't the team you're willing to trade every freaking pick to get better for, there's no team worth doing it for.
So Dallas doesn't have a lot of first. Is it okay?
This close to that doorknob.
Yes.
This is the time.
Yeah. Is it, and you guys both would be okay with them not having a first round pick for like 3 or 4 straight seasons?
I mean,
and deal with it down the road.
If it's going to put you in the finals.
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
There's no one from like, and this is going to sound really harsh to some people and everything like
We
that.
have a super chat.
But you know what? Honestly,
They're not gonna. We can't flip anybody off today.
you're right. But
No, not today.
honestly, it's the Rams GM won a Super Bowl and took the parade wearing F them picks as a shirt. I'd gladly get a DLS shirt that says F them picks or something like that, because that would be like, this is the team. This is the window, right? Like, with Jim said it last year. He may have 10 years of picks and he's never going to draft a player like Mikko Rantanen. He's never going to, like, there's all of these spots where this window and everything like that. Even the players where you're talking about like, hey, this guy is going to be kind of cycled out eventually and the next window goes. You already have the next guy who's going to take that spot. So this is, if you as a franchise are going to win a Stanley Cup and maybe potentially win multiple, just go. Just do it, right? Just take advantage of it.
Hey,
just
Sean,
go for it. Yeah.
Before you leave, you're the one that has the heart out here. So I have to get the finger blaster 911, Ludz's favorite, with a Lundqvist in year after the cup. How involved generally is the head coach in these new personnel decisions? Ludz, you're shaking your head.
Well, I mean, it's not like they don't talk, but Jim's job is to do Jim's job, and Gully's job is to do Gully's job. I mean, is he going to come in and say, hey, if we're able to bring Blake Coleman in or Kadri or whoever, are you going to be able to fit him in? He's going to go, yeah, we'll fit him in. Like look at our roster right now. Yeah, we're going to fit him in. We got room on D and we got room on the forwards now. Jim's not going to go out and get a bottom six player and say, this is what's going to help us get there, because we may not have Matt Duchene. We may not have Tyler Seguin. We may not have Bishop. Here we are.
How about this one? From trying to see where the chat was from Foxy Jane 88. What about Will Cooley with the Rangers?
Yeah, they're not giving him up.
There's no way they're getting rid of a 23-year-old that's an RFA 2 years
What
ago.
about Connor McDavid or Leon Draisaitl? How about
them? You're telling me that the Rangers that have won 3 home games this year couldn't be coerced for the right price?
There's a future that they got to look for too, right? I mean, it's like saying, oh, Wyatt Johnson. Do you think we can go get Wyatt?
You think Wyatt Johnson and Will Cooley are in the same vein right now?
I'm just saying that has nothing to do with it. You're talking about a dynamic player in a roster.
I just think that we tend to overvalue players to the point that think that they're not expendable or tradable. But it might not be right. It might not be worth the price.
Everyone's tradable. Everyone's tradable. I got to go in a minute here, but like let's just talk about the crazy option here, okay? You're the Dallas Stars. You want Quinn Hughes. Let's just play that game. Everyone's going to be like, oh, you can't trade Thomas Harley. Yes, you can trade Thomas Harley to get Quinn Hughes. I'm going to go do that, right? So if you are the Stars, right, like, and you are the spot where, hey, this is the team where we're going to go win a Stanley Cup. We're going to go all in. We're going to do everything we can to win until you – I mean, it's ironic because Mikko Rantanen is now in Dallas, but literally when Carolina acquired Mikko Rantanen, one of the lines from Eric Tolsky, and I know we can all disagree a little bit on how he handled things one way or the other. One of the lines that will always stick with me is, until you have acquired the 23 best players in the world, you can make as many trades as you want. So you know what? Go make the team better. Go win a Stanley Cup. Just like I'd like to be, I want to be able to have this show go into late June, and I want us to be able to have a good time. And to me, being hemming and hawing of like, oh, you know what? We don't want to lose Emil Hemming. We don't want to lose Schmidt. We don't want to do this. Like all the future. Like
no, you do whatever to get
the future. Just win 16 games in the spring. I have to go.
Ludz, I'm not saying it's on the table, but are you really would you consider trading Harley for Quinn Hughes?
Yes.
Yep. 100%. Is that a hard question?
No, but I wanted to. Sean, sometimes you do it so you can get the answer, not to make it because it's a hard question.
I mean, would you?
It's both. Yes. Would it be hard to give up Thomas Harley? For sure.
Yes, but it's also good.
So does it make it? Is it easier for you, Owen? Would you take Cale Makar if you could trade him for Thomas Harley?
Yes.
Okay, then I think Quinn Hughes is in that same boat.
Yep.
I agree. All right, guys. Well, hey, we'll save something.
By the way,
we're sorry,
Thomas. Tonight. We're just playing around here, Thomas.
Yes. Nobody wants to trade Thomas Harley.
We don't want you
Get well soon.
No, we want to trade. We want to trade just 2 firsts for Hughes and just get it done, and then just add $23 million in cap space, just fantasy land, right?
Sure.
Harley will never see the power play.
Yeah.
Well, guys,
All right,
thank
guys.
you very much for your time today. Sean, we won't see you tonight, but thanks for hopping on today. Luds, you and I have a pregame show where we'll rehash all of this and come up with some more stuff. That's at 5:30 Central Time, Stars and Devils tonight. But Tyler Seguin out for a long term, could be out for the season. We'll wait to find out details coming soon with an ACL injury. A big loss for the Dallas Stars as they continue to work through the 25-26 season. For Craig Ludwig, for Sean Shapiro, and for our producer, Ryan Vaughters, I'm Owen Newkirk. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you tonight for the pregame show right here on DLLS.
We all silly like the mayor.